Welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with One-to-One Media, coming to you from the Pega World 2011 conference here in Orlando. I'm joined today by Patrick James, Vice President and Global Head of Marketing, Sales, and Service Consulting at Capgemini. And today Patrick and I will be talking about some of the trends that are shaping CRM and some of the challenges that decision makers are facing these days. Patrick, thanks so much for joining us.
Hello.
So I guess as a starter, what do you see as some of the key trends that are emerging in CRM these days?
Well, I think that the biggest trend is the fact that social CRM is absolutely exploding, and I think that this is causing a complete change in the way that organisations start interfacing with their customers. And that is having an impact on CRM systems themselves. I think we're beginning to talk about the death of CRM, what with the advent of things like federated ID, and social CRM providing an enormous amount of the information about customers. There's a real question about whether you need a proper CRM system, and in fact whether you should be moving towards a much more fleet of foot mechanism for integrating and interfacing with your customers.
Sure. So as you know, there's been a lot of discussion around whether and to what extent companies can measure ROI around social CRM efforts.
Sure.
And what's your take on that? How do you see this?
I absolutely think you can, but I think the trouble with social CRM, and the reason why there's not been an ROI model in the past, is that people have just tended to listen. And there's no ROI on listening, to be honest, it's just cost. Now, you can then start changing the way that you market or changing the way that you communicate with your customers, but the reality is the ROI comes from action. It always has, always will do. So the question is, how do you get information out of social CRM and then do something with it? And frankly, that's why I'm at Pega World, because together with Pega, we've built a capability to listen on the social web, social media, then turn that into physical action in the company to increase revenue and reduce cost.
Okay, great. So can you cite examples of companies that Capgemini has worked with to help shape their social media, social CRM efforts, and how those have worked out?
You'll be unsurprised that some of those are confidential. I mean, it'd be fair to say that we've worked with the likes of a big media firm in the UK to drive their social media activity, and that is about how they define a changing customer behaviour to drive greater usage of their services. We're also working with a car manufacturer, a global car manufacturer, to do the same. I'm not ready to go on record with their names. They haven't signed a non-disclosure agreement with us yet, but they're actually beginning to see the benefit. They're beginning to see things like product recall dropping because they're hearing about what their clients are saying. So it's not just about sales and marketing only, it's also about product development.
So in the case of the auto manufacturer, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they're listening to what their customers are saying and they're acting on that feedback and trying to make changes to some of their lines of vehicles.
Yeah, and some of that is reactive. So we're hearing. Dell is a case in point of a proactive, where they have a capability where people are putting in thousands of suggestions for their products. You know, that 417 they've adopted into their product set very, very successfully. They've also sold 6 million laptops via their Twitter account. So, you know, we are seeing the beginning and the change of behaviour.
Okay. I guess as a final thought, if you could offer some high-level advice for executives who are wrestling with social CRM issues right now, what are some first steps that they should consider?
Well, it's not just about listening. There are 222 software firms out there that do the listening. So don't just think about listen, think about how you take that information and make something about it. You know, insight is nothing without action. So go for something or start developing a strategy around closer integration with your customer, closer ability to understand what's being said, how to respond to that, how to make different changes. For instance, the reason why we like Pega is because the business can make changes on the fly. If they see a problem, you can change the business process management capability immediately. That's the kind of thing you need to be talking about. The world is changing much faster. The expectation to change processes real time, and customers' expectation that you will respond real time, is creating a massive change and a massive opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, Patrick, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it.